Hey everybody, welcome to the next edition of Cage My IQ. My name is D-Bake. Tonight we're going to be talking post UFC 257. We're going to review the main card. We're also going to talk about what are some similarities between Vince McMahon and Dana White. And then lastly, we're going to talk about what pro fighters we think could transition to professional wrestling. And as always, I'm joined by Miles from the Laugh and Wreck podcast. How's it going, Miles? I think you're on mute right now.
I was on mute. That was a good catch. Yeah. We were sitting all that time in the studio. You guys didn't say shit. I was talking because you guys like, it's fine. Just ignore him. He does that sometimes.
And then joining us today is Dave from the Working Fans podcast. How's it going, Dave?
Good. And Miles, I thought you were kind of being quiet. I was like, all right.
I thought I was part of the conversation.
I was like, I just sit there and smiles a lot. That's cool. Good dude. I ain't gonna judge.
Love it. Right. How you guys doing tonight? What did you think of the pay-per-view?
I loved it.
Good.
Yeah, man. It was a good show. Every fight but the Calderwood fight was a finish. So, that's what I'm all about. I love the finishes, and everything was exciting. Super excited. Joe, what's up, buddy?
Yeah.
Thanks for showing some love. Yeah, man. I thought it was a great show.
And once again, we are the Buzz, and we got a sponsor with us, and it is Manscaped. So check this video out. Once again, that is Manscaped, and your boss will thank you. They got some great products for you. Definitely for your wife if she needs to get her husband or significant other something. It's a great gift that he will actually use. You got the lawn mower 2.0. You got the crop preserver. You got the ball toner. Just great items down there to keep down there nice and good looking so that you don't scare away the ladies. Once again, that's Manscaped. And if you want to get anything from there, use promo code CMI2020 to get 20% off any order plus free shipping. And once again, that's 20% off and free shipping. Use promo code CMI2020. So let's get into the thick of things today, guys. The first topic we have today is, before I forget, the poll question of today is, who should fight Dustin Poirier for the title, barring a change of mind by Khabib? Give us your thoughts. As you know, everything's up in the air with Khabib, whether he's actually going to come back or not. And with that win that we're talking about later on, looks like Poirier is going to be in that title shot. It's just we don't know who he's going to fight yet, but just give us a holler. Let us know who you think should fight him. And we'll be talking about that in the main event later tonight. But the first topic to get into today is, what MMA fighters do you think could cut it in professional wrestling? I'm going to start with you, Dave.
Yeah. It's an interesting topic. Right away, most people's mind go to guys like Connor, Chael, Sonnen. They can cut great promos, right? You can talk, you got the look. But one of the things, just to kind of contradict that a little bit is we know, at least in WWE, Vince looks for size. So even though these guys are legit and they can really do this, they might not look the part, like in, say, Vince's eyes. Now, AEW is kind of a new thing. Maybe they would be, a little more forgiving. But so in taking that into consideration, I started looking at the heavyweights. And one guy that popped up in my mind, Derek the Black Beast Lewis. All right. He's comfortable talking on the mic. He's always got something funny to say. And he's a monster. He's absolutely huge.
He's a guy that could use Manscaped.
I'm sure he could. I'm sure he'd be happy to promote it too. But I mean, there's a lot of people I thought of, like, Chael and Connor definitely make my list too, because they're just such good talkers. And if you can talk, I mean, they'll figure it out. But, I think Derek Lewis is kind of almost like, at least with Vince's mind, something he would like. One other person I wanted to throw out there was Chris Cyborg, because I think she has interests. And with the women's division, it's not like she would really have to talk as much. Like, she could go to AEW or something like that and just be a force, just be a monster. So I think she would be great. And obviously, there's already tradition of, like, fine MMA fighters who did a good crossover. Shamrock, Rousey, Kurt Angle wasn't an MMA, but, combat sports athlete. And then you got Dan Severn. There's so many good crossovers. So it's an interesting topic, but all those people kind of looked the part too. So that's the big thing. It's like finding that person who looks the part, even though they are the part.
What about you, Miles?
I don't know much about the wrestling world. MMA is kind of my wheelhouse, and telling dick jokes. Those are the two things I got. You take one of those away, you take away of who I am as a person. But no, just based on like attitude and stuff. Is you're right. Typically, bigger people are the ones that are looking to scout for like wrestling stuff, because it's not very convincing if you got a spindly little guy in there. He's gonna like power bomb a dude. It just doesn't hit the same, But I think if he bulked up, John Jones might be interesting, because he's got that attitude, that shit talking. Where I forget who he's fighting, and he got in an argument with him. And the guy brought up that he got charged with, the cocaine charges. He's like, motherfucker, I'll take a bunch of cocaine and then I'll beat your ass. Like it's that kind of attitude I think they'd be looking for. You know what I mean? So I think he'd do all right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot of other names that are coming to the top of my head. I'm looking over here at the rankings roster, but like all the current champions, like you got Figueiredo, Peter Yan. I don't know if they'd necessarily go in and do very well. You know what I mean? But
all great, legit, tough athletes and great fighters, but maybe not a great crossover in pro wrestling.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. They're just not as good of performers. They can fight each other, but then when it comes to putting on the show part of it, I think they would be kind of lost. And
some of that's just because fans aren't as educated. Like casual fans, or they don't know that like a guy like Figueiredo or Mighty Mouse Johnson or one of those flyweights from back in the day are like, they'll clean out a whole room. Like they'll just kill everyone, right? But they don't know that.
But I think there's another stark contrast between like wrestling and UFC, where wrestling has actual storylines. No, like they have things that they work out beforehand, and like, okay, this is kind of where we want to take this. It's almost like a narrative. That's not the case in UFC. Like things just happen, and it's crazy. Like
it's
you just put two dudes in there, and
exactly, right. Yeah, UFC has storylines that don't try to take advantage of. Like something happens, like roll with that. We got that.
Oh, there's no planning. They just put two dudes in a cage, and what happens. Like that's how it goes.
I got quite a few names I have. I'm surprised no one said this was the first guy that I thought of was Colby Covington. He's just I just call him the mouthpiece, because like that's all he does is talk. He can back it up. He has the wrestling background, so he can kind of like have a head start in basically training, because he already has somewhat of a background. He already has the mouth. So all he needs to do is like just to train and learn the professional wrestling way, which is similar to what he did. So I think he would have the easiest avenue. You got Daniel Cormier. I don't think he would wrestle. I think he would be a commentator. He has said in the past that he wants to make the crossover to commenting for the WWE, and there has been talks between the two in the past year. So I don't know where he would go with that, but I think he would be good at doing that. Just like you said, Dave, Cyborg, for some reason she reminds me of Mercedes Martinez. That that like mold of the tall big woman who doesn't need to talk. She can just fuck people up. Basically, Derek Lewis. He's a guy that I could see doing at like heavyweight. A small guy that I could see, Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
He would be good in like the cruiserweight division, given some time. And then like I do like John Jones, but maybe like a guy like in the future, like an Usman, just a guy like with his face. He has the background, like he gets a little bit better talking each time, but he has the confidence. Like that's what he does. That's what makes him so good. Is he thinks he's the best, and then because he thinks he's the best, that it just rubs off the right way on when he fights. So I think that could be like a good thing. There's several guys, but like we've seen it before, like you said, with like Ken Shamrock. Who's the
Dan Severn.
Dan Severn.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that went to WCW?
Oh, Tank Abbott.
Tank Abbott. Like he wasn't as good, but he made the jump. You
Personality too, though.
Yeah, you've seen guys do it, and then especially Ken Shamrock, he's still doing it today. In Impact.
Cormier has the passion for it too. That's one I should have mentioned because he got like, I mean, we'll talk about it more later, but like there in that Chandler promo, like you see Cormier, he's talking about Ric Flair, and he's like losing his mind. So to me, I think if you truly love something too, that's going to give you a leg up because he's gonna get it. He's gonna understand like his role, and he's gonna want to excel at it. So that's gonna help him.
Yeah, I remember where it was a couple years ago. They showed him at the pay-per-view in San Jose right after Mania when it was Orton and Bray Wyatt in the Fun House where they did that vignette, and he said they actually showed him there, and he was there with his kids, and then he was the one talking like he was the kid because he said like he gets giddy and everything when he goes and watches it because he's loved this as a kid.
Yeah.
And then like you could see guys that make a good transition as long as they have some sort of background. He already has the commentating background from now doing it. You see Mauro Ranallo. He did a great job.
The best.
He's a different beast. People don't know that he's the guy that basically taught John Anik what he knows. Even the workmanship and everything that he does today, and that's why he's so successful, is because of Mauro.
Yeah,
and he did that at SmackDown and then NXT for like 3-4 years.
No one can touch Mauro. I mean, I can't think of any guy who's done it on a main level. Like we're talking Bellator, Showtime Boxing, and WWE. Like and 3 different platforms, good at all of them. Like that's unprecedented.
And then he started out at Strikeforce too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
People forget that he was the main guy there. He's had his hands in so many different projects. Pride. I just saw a thing on that today, actually, because they're showing things on Pride on the UFC Fight Network, and I'm looking forward to watching that when I get a chance. But right before we get into the next topic, let me cover some of these comments that are just swooping on in right now. We got Randy chiming in. He's one of the guys that comments on Working Fans a lot.
Yep.
Yes, Steve. We got Tyler going, hey. We got my mainline co-star, Gary chiming in. Michael Chandler looks like a beast.
Hell yes.
He definitely proved himself Saturday. We got I'm at work tuning into my favorite MMA show, and I see one ugly motherfucker looking at me still. Love the show, though. You're truly
You're welcome for that. Bringing my fan base, baby.
Yeah.
There you go.
We got Gary again. Chris Cyborg would be fun in pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
We got Mike Stewart chiming in. Do you think it was a bad idea for Ronda Rousey to go into professional wrestling? I forgot about her.
She loved it. She was good at it, and it was great for her brand. She basically branched out and did it. And honestly,
good for her.
I mean, based off her last 2 fights, and I'm not even knocking her, it doesn't seem like her passion was in that direction anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I think she got wrecked by Nunes, which that could happen anyway. But I mean, she also didn't fight the best fight, I thought, against Holm. Like, she was starting to become more of a striker, which she was kind of getting away from her basics. To me, it's like she made the perfect time to go into pro wrestling. She always liked Cormier, loved it. So yeah, I think
yeah, definitely. When you look at her in each thing that she did, she was always a winner, and then she came in. I think she kind of loses track of herself when she loses. And then she loses a little bit of the passion, which is kind of normal. Like, everybody doesn't like to lose, but it seems like she did that. And then when she lost that first fight, I believe it was to Holly Holm.
Yep.
It seemed like she changed. Like, it was like she was still okay, but like you said, she wasn't going for the takedowns or flips like she normally did. She was striking, and then when you like. In the beginning of her, in between Strikeforce and UFC, a lot of the opponents that she had were grapplers and submission artists and jiu-jitsu. They weren't pure strikers. And when she actually had kind of like Brock Lesnar, that kind of reminded me, they kind of paralleled each other with the beginning of their careers. Whereas when they moved on longer, they actually had to fight some strikers, and when they did, they didn't do too well. Like, rounded with Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. With Brock Lesnar, he did lose that fluky one to and Frank Mir. And then he got his ass kicked against Alistair Overeem. And then Cain Velasquez loss was like a changer. He even lost to Mark Hunt, but then it kind of got switched, and that's why
he actually won the one with Mark Hunt, but it went to a no contest.
Yeah.
Right, because it was like he had
but they found out about that, and then it was just like he just never served that suspension, and then it's been kind of like like a waiting game. Like, is he coming back? He thought he was, but then he was always using UFC to get more money out of WWE, and he would always be like, "Oh, I'm going back." And then WWE would pay him instead of thinking, oh, wait, if he goes back, he has to serve a 6-month suspension, and then he can't do anything for 6 months. So, like, I don't think Vince McMahon cared, but it's like, we got Joe, how soon until we see Cormier get involved in pro wrestling, and where does he end up? I think give it a year. Because I think he's starting to get into swing of things after retiring now. Now he's like a 4-time commentator. I want to see him commentate 4-time for the next year with UFC, because I think he's the number one guy opposite of Anik and Rogan. Like, he's always on there. They like to use him. It's like him, then Cruz, then Felder, and then Dan Hardy in that order. They like to use that order, but he's like their A guy, like, because now they're using all the recycled retired fighters or guys that don't fight as much.
Could be a monkey wrench in that too, because sidebar, WWE was sold the network today to the Peacock network, and ESPN is not covering WWE stuff right now because they were apparently interested in maybe some kind of deal. So since they're not going to cover any WWE stuff at all, and they're getting rid of the relationship, and Cormier with the UFC is part of ESPN, I don't know if that's going to make it a little tricky working with ESPN and wanting to leave for WWE. I don't know. I'm just saying that could be something to look for down the road too.
Well, how's the relationship with Mauro Ranallo? Because he was doing that, but then he was also working with Showtime with boxing, and he did something else, but. Like, he was able to do both. Like,
he worked out a great contract with everything like that. Cormier, I think there was already a deal kind of hold up too, because this WWE on Fox, and Fox having their own sports franchise, and then ESPN is obviously the sports network. So I think that's been the hold up now. But now, like, I guess ESPN and WWE did have some form of a relationship where they would show classic stuff once in a while, and would cover any major like mainstream story WWE was trying to do. But I heard today that was strained by whatever this sale was. And Cormier being a part of ESPN, I don't know if that's going to cause a problem for him. I mean, Cormier's got a pretty sweet gig doing that commentary, too. I'm sure they pay him well, and he's really good at it. I know he'd love to do the wrestling. I'm just wondering if there'll be a hiccup with that at all. I hope not.
Yeah, then now there's the news that NBC Sports is folding at the end of the year. So now you got USA picking up a hockey and NASCAR, and then now WWE has to worry about hockey on Wednesday nights. So you could see that moving nights. Like that's the only way that they can NXT can move nights is that. But that's another talk for another show. But let me get back to the comments. We got Randy. Does Connor go to WWE sometime? I don't think he does, and I'll save that for later.
I don't think he'll wrestle for them.
Yeah,
but that would be surprised if he like does a little spot for him or something. Yeah.
We got Cormier uses a great fit and loves wrestling. We got Joe saying in UFC the narratives seem to develop.
Unintentionally, yeah.
Max Holloway would be also good.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I've seen matches in UFC that look like they were in wrestling where the person who you feel should have won gets jobbed out with a loss. Vince would
be like that.
Connor win. Dave is awesome.
There you go.
Much love.
Do we get Khabib versus GSP? I don't think we do.
I don't.
Because I think both of them stay retired.
Well, I saw a thing on Twitter a couple of days ago. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but it was around that time I followed Khabib. For some reason, I wasn't following him, but I followed him. And that day, he put out some shit about he's excited to start his career in soccer, and now he's a free agent. So I was like, what the shit? What?
Yesterday, I'm like, at first, I'm like, professional football. I'm like, I thought he was talking about NFL, and then I'm like, oh wait. He's in a different country, so he's talking about soccer, right? Because he put FOOT instead of FUT, and it threw me off. I'm like, oh, okay, because that's big over there.
Buck should be awesome at it.
I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just such a weird transition. I used to choke people out. Now we're gonna play soccer. All right.
But to go from that into the next topic, because we're talking a little bit of wrestling again. What are some similarities between Dana White and Vince McMahon? I had this in my head for the past couple of weeks about how, these are two of the things I like to watch a lot is MMA and wrestling. And when you think of both, the two guys that you think of the most is Dana White and Vince McMahon and how they run their companies and how much money they make. And then they both have different personalities, but at the same time, like I think that there's some similarities.
Oh yeah.
What are some similarities that you think of when you think of both guys? I'll start with you, Miles.
Well, I mean, they both fucked their fighters pretty hard. Like, geez, it's awful conditions working for these guys. Like, I was just doing some light research to see like how fighters get compensated and how wrestlers get compensated, and I'm amazed. I didn't think anybody could treat their workers worse than Vince McMahon. But Dana White manages. He does it. Like he's like challenge accepted. It's ridiculous. I think on average, UFC fighters get paid like I think it's $20,000 less than most wrestlers do. Like their contracts tend to start at like $50K, but I think it's like a third of UFC fighters are making less than the average American worker, which is like 45 grand. And then there was one fighter I found. Isabella De Paula, she earned like 10 grand in 2019 for the whole year. It's like, what the hell? And of course, no unions, no healthcare, no benefits, which Vince McMahon does that too. Sure. But Jesus, he really like Dana White seems to like he's cutting it all the way down as much as he can to make as much money off the fighters as possible without any return. And I remember there was another suit not that long ago where fighters were suing for I think it was trust busting. Like basically they were saying the UFC were using their resources to buy up all of the smaller MMA leagues so that they could control just exactly how much each fighter gets paid. So no matter where they went, they weren't going to be valued any higher or lower. And I think the court ruled in their favor for that. So that's good. In terms of their personality, they're a little bit different though. Like I feel like Vince McMahon's an asshole and he knows he's an asshole, but he kind of leans into it, you know, like that's who he is. He just owns that. Whereas Dana White's still doing like I'm a reasonable guy. I like my fighters. I just don't want to pay them. He's still that guy. It's ridiculous. But I think also Vince McMahon is probably more involved in terms of like the wrestling world in his organization, you know, like he sometimes is there in the events and he's part of the events. Dana White's not stepping his fat ass into the ring to fight with like Khabib at any point. Like, he's not going to be doing that. But yeah, it's just, I think the biggest similarity is just how badly they treat their fighters, how much they both are really just concerned with making money and not really concerned with how they go about doing it. So they're okay with cutting these corners that are pretty important, like the COVID story we talked about. I think what was that 255, where Dana White put in all these really great measures to go fight in I think it was Missouri back when lockdown was happening. And at first it was okay, but then here comes Dana White and Joe Rogan not following any of the rules they put into place. It's like that's just a giant middle finger to not only the fighters, obviously, who are there putting their health at risk and everything, but like, what about all the other like just menial workers in the institute, like the job or the event coordinators, the accountants, the drivers? But like they have to follow the rules, but Dana White doesn't. So that's cool. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I liked the light research, and it didn't take that long to find that out. It's out there. Yeah, these guys, yeah, they have that similar. Yeah, I'll go a little positive because there's definitely a lot of negative stuff, but they both have tremendous work ethics. Obviously, I don't think either one of these guys sleep at all. They're constantly trying to promote stuff. I'll share a story too. I heard years ago that Dana White told on a TV show somewhere when they were asking him about Vince McMahon. And Dana said that Vince McMahon, now Vince is like, I don't know, 74 now. So this is probably back maybe still Vince would have been in his 60s. Dana was like saying a story that Vince called him up and said, hey, you want to fight at WrestleMania? and Dana said, what do you mean fight? You like want to do some WWE thing or you want to have like a real fight? And I guess Vince said, I don't care. Your choice. Dana goes, you're nuts. We're not going to do that.
Of course. Yeah.
So, yeah, he said, Vince is an animal. I think that's the big thing is like Dana, I think is kind of sometimes plays a little bit of the Vince McMahon character. Like, I think he sees Vince McMahon and, he's like, okay, I want to be a little bit like that guy. And he tries to, Vince is the originator. He is absolutely crazy. There's stories about him. I think Kurt Angle just had a story recently where they were talking about something about a contract negotiation, and Vince said, I'll give you more money if you can take me down. And Kurt Angle's like, I'm not going to take you down. And so there's just a lot of crazy stories out there with Vince. They're both nuts. And come to find out, because I just did a little research too, I didn't realize this, but they're both juniors. Dana White actually is there's a Dana White senior out there, and so they're both juniors. Yeah. And I don't know. They're two wacky guys. Yeah, just wacky guys like that you don't know what they're really going to do. But they're not going to pay you a lot if they can help it. You know that.
Yep.
I will say this though, they both even though that they try and cut costs as much as possible, I do think that they generally do care about their everybody that works under them. Because of course Vince McMahon, you hear all the good stories like he can be stern and then everything can be crazy, but all the wrestlers love him because he has their best interest in mind. Sometimes it's kind of warped because it's Vince McMahon and he's been doing this forever. So he wants things to be the WWE way, but he does care about everybody. And then you see that too in Dana White. He put that thing out a couple of weeks ago about working through COVID, and then everybody just blasting him for having the fighters fight during the pandemic. He came out with that video and he was basically like, hey, he was like, we're working during this COVID, but you know what? I could just shut things down and then my fighters won't make any money because they make the money off of working. It's kind of not like wrestling where they're scripting things, you can work around everything. You got to actually fight each other like for real, and you're getting hurt and you're training. And if you don't work, you don't get paid. So that's why it came up with the Fight Island. It wasn't being used. Though actually, the building that they use at Fight Island, I found out they use that building for a museum, like an art museum over in Abu Dhabi. That's what it was made for, and they turned it into arena for UFC where they can fight there every now and then. It's just become so popular that they keep on going back, and then the pandemic keeps happening. But
I wonder if the guy who made that art museum thought this was going to be his work.
This is going to be the future for
this is
UFC.
my art.
But like he wanted
postmodern.
He wanted to be able to give his fighters a chance to still make a living. And then he did a lot of research. Like I watched it was like a 3-minute clip. He did a lot of research on what he needed to do. Like he rented out Yaz Island, of course. What does he have to do quarantine wise, and then everything to keep the fighters safe? And then what does he need to do? Like everything's not going to be perfect. You're going to have guys that here and there are going to test positive, but what can he do to make it the best way possible? And that's why they got a quarantine. Yeah, like I think Poirier and Dan Hooker, it's so strict that after Saturday, Dan Hooker can't go back to New Zealand until February 24th.
Yeah.
He has to quarantine that long.
Shitty.
Just to be able to fight. And if that's what needs to be done to make a living for your family, that's what he's doing. He's doing that. There's always been between the two, the guys under them not making enough money. You see them doing different things to try and get them more. Like with WWE, there's the network. I'm sure they're making a lot more money off that, where maybe wrestlers can make a small portion of that, or their merchants.
I looked into that, actually. The research shows that Vince McMahon does give his wrestlers more opportunities to make money through like merchandising, non-wrestling appearances. They have some entitlement to royalties. It's like 25%. But the thing about it is he words the contracts in such a way that it's very easy to screw them out of it. Like, for example, I think you are allotted or you're entitled to, I think it's 25% of I think it's it's the merchandising royalties. So for the fighter only. So like if they make an action figure of a fighter, then you're entitled 25% of all those revenues. But if that likeness is shared with another fighter, you have to split that 25%. So if it's like a poster and there's 2 of you motherfuckers up there, now you only get 12.5%. Right. If there's 4 of you, then you get basically not. So they word the contracts in a way where, yeah, technically you get it, but they kind of keep moving the goalposts to make it so they have to pay you less and less and less. And UFC doesn't even have that. They don't even, as far as I can tell, they don't do that at all.
They're complicated guys. I mean, to say, because it's like you can find a lot of good stuff that Vince and Dana both have done. I mean, there's a video that came out where Dana was super concerned about Calvin Kattar, who took a hellacious beating last week. But that's a sport, right? I mean, these aren't normal people. When you're a billionaire of a ultimate fighting league, or a billionaire of like WWE, you're not going to have normal lives. Like you can see times where Vince is compassionate for the people, but like you were talking, Miles, like, yeah, those contracts are going to be wording away. At the end all be all, these guys' biggest passion is their business. Oh yeah, and they will do anything to protect that business. So yeah, they can be good guys, but if you think you're gonna cost them that business, you're gonna get fucked over. That's how.
No. I think they try to be like good people. I think everybody tries to be a good person. I don't think anybody sits down and goes, you know what, I'm gonna be the biggest asshole I can my whole life. Just no good stuff. But at the end of the day, because the way they treat their fighters, it leads to a mindset where it's necessarily like you're a product and not a person. At the end of the day, because I mean, that's the thing we'll talk about with the fights is how he's treating Conor McGregor now versus how he was treating him before the fight went down. It's pretty clear that he's looking at Conor McGregor as a cash cow. And when the cash cow doesn't pay out, then Dana White gets real upsetty, So.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you this too, boxing, this is a quick thing about boxing. They don't really get a bad rep because you got people that make so much money. But I'll tell you what, if you don't have a promoter and you're not in a certain league, go find out what those little fighters in countries like Mexico are making. Like they ain't making a lot.
It's real bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like McGregor with Dana White can kind of compare to like Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar, where this is my premier guy. He's making a lot of money, but when he's not doing anything, that's when you hear like the rumblings between Brock and Vince. Because Brock, kind of like McGregor, but McGregor's like, I guess he's more nice about it than Brock is. Brock is like, I make you money. What can you do about me? Like, if you're gonna fire me, fire me. That's why you hear all the rumbles between them two. But a thing that I've seen with Dana White, kind of like Vince McMahon, is he's always trying to change things to where he can make UFC money, but then he can kind of see what he can do to help his fighters out. It doesn't always work well.
Health insurance, health insurance, real easy.
Like they used to, do the old sponsorships, like where you could just use your own sponsorship on your merchandise in the UFC, and then they were making money, but it was in the beginning stages, so they thought that it could make more money with somebody bigger. So then they went to Reebok, and then the way the Reebok was, that's when he started to do the fight bonuses. He was like, I'm going to pay you less with the Reebok, but then you get all these fight bonuses, because Dana White's a guy where he hates the wrestlers that just fall on top of you and then they just lay there. He thinks it's bad for business.
He's real mad about that, actually.
You don't want to get hit? What's that?
Yeah, funny.
He wants to make money, and the most money he made is when you got a knockout, you got a barnstorm. That's what he wants. He tells everybody that, and he's like, if you want to succeed here, like, you give it all. You don't
punched more.
But
it's good for business.
The Reebok, the endorsement was great, but then they got the ESPN, like UFC went up there, but then the fighters complained about not making enough money for it, because not everybody was they've been making a statement lately that the bonuses have been kind of cliched up to like the main event guys or the main card, and not a lot of the down low guys on the prelims were making bonuses. So
I found that too. Apparently the biggest money maker almost none of the fighters have access to is the pay-per-view. Like the money accrued to pay-per-view, I think it's only the champions and like the most productive fighters, they get some access to pay-per-view. Like that apparently is where McGregor has made a killing. That's where he's made a huge amount of money, but nobody else has access to that because Dana White's not going to share.
It's your champions or your main events.
Yeah.
So on a pay-per-view, you have to either main event the pay-per-view or you're a title holder. So if you have 3 title fights on a pay-per-view, they'll all get a piece of it. Yeah. But if it's like Connor's going to main event the pay-per-view. So you won't have any title matches on that. So
but
Conor and Poirier, right.
Also what I found out was everybody on the main card, like usually your guys are contracted by fights or whatnot, but certain guys are actually by year, like they have like a multi-year contract, so it doesn't matter. But they also do a thing where if you make the main card, you get a certain portion. Although, just like you said, do the main event, you get a lot more. If you're co-main event, a little less, and then it goes down up until the first fight of the main card, because like you said, they're on the pay-per-view or they're on the live TV, so they're getting like a small portion no matter what. But now they signed the deal with Venom. It's going to take over Reebok, where there's a little bit more creativity with the merchandise, and it's his way of giving more to the fighters. The fighters will actually get more money by the new deal than they did with Reebok. And then they're still going to do the bonuses. And the bonuses thing's going to always be a work in progress because of who it is. Like, say you got a great knockout, like they had Buckley like months ago in the summer, had that crazy knockout. It was kind of hard to give it to anybody else.
Right.
But like, say he was on that one, but then if it was on the same card as Poirier against McGregor, it's kind of hard not to give it to Poirier because the how big of a fight that is, unless they were like, okay, we're gonna knock out to Buckley, but then we give fight of the night to Poirier and McGregor. It's like I think they kind of have like a fight with each other, with like, were we going to do this or this? Because if we give this, then this person's going to miss out. And they did a great job. Like, I think Poirier wound up getting, I'm not sure if he got the knockout or fight of the night.
He did. He got performance.
And then Did Chandler get knockout?
He got they're giving him like all performance bonuses, yeah. Because it's
Okay.
like they changed it a while back, where it used to be like knockout, submission, and fight of the night,
Yeah.
and now it's performance of the night or finish or performance or fight of the night.
And then
they gave out.
I know sometimes they break it up where
Yeah.
they do a little bit less, but to give somebody else that deserved it.
They have discretionary bonuses.
Yeah.
They don't tell you about too. Like so,
But,
somebody
like
yeah.
he's trying, he's trying, but
well,
They still
here's
don't
the
have
thing.
health insurance. So you can
Yeah.
try as much as you
well,
want.
actually,
There's no benefits for the fighters.
Mhm.
well,
So you're a billionaire, and you go up to a guy and you go,
Yep.
"Hey, man, you know what? You did really good tonight. Here's 50 grand." Well, yeah, you just made that guy excited. He's happy.
Right.
Really wasn't much money out of your pocket, though. Really, when you
Compared
think
to how
about it.
much he made, you know.
Right? Yeah, I
Like,
got this guy
the
50 grand. You keep
differentials
fighting
are
for him, bro.
huge.
Bust them brains up. That's right. Don't care about
Well, it's
that
even
health
worse
insurance.
because he goes up to these fighters. It's like, hey, you had a great fight tonight. Oh, is your shin fucked up? Yeah, you're taking care of that. That's
Here's
not
50.
a,
Yeah,
not
here's
a-
50 grand.
Here's
Yeah.
50 grand.
Mhm.
Have fun
I
spending
mean,
that on your shin.
sometimes they will take care of people too. But here's the thing too: it's like some of those people that take care of. I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure he looks at it like, well, that's an investment.
Yeah.
All right, that guy might make me some money in the future. Go take care of him and his family, or that could be
Gotta-
bad press.
gotta take
Go
care of
handle
the
that before
horse
it gets out
instead
the
of
wall.
taking him to
Right?
the
There's
glue
always
farm.
an ulterior motive, you know. But then again, there's some good too. I don't want to like say it, but right? I mean, health insurance, like. They don't seem to want to do that, right? WWE, UFC, none of these people, even AEW, as progressive they are on the wrestling front. And Tony Khan gives his employees health insurance. So if you're a VP and a wrestler, you get health. But I didn't hear about the actual wrestlers getting health insurance. So we don't talk about that. Yeah.
But it was, they try. They don't do that, but you have heard about on both sides. If a guy needs to go into rehab or something, boom,
Sure.
they put him in the rehab. They do certain things to help out.
Rehab. What kind of rehab? Is it like physical rehab or?
Sometimes drug rehab.
Drug
'Cause I
rehab.
was gonna say, like drug rehab. That's the thing. I don't know if you guys have seen or if you watched the last week tonight specials. They're mostly comedy things, but there's a lot of good information out there. They do a lot of good research to make those shows. But it's no secret that drug rehab is not really that helpful. It's because a lot of drug rehab places don't base their treatments on science. They just go, oh, that probably works. Let's have them pet horses. I'm sure that'll get you off crack. What? No, you need a clinical psychologist to deal with that. Not oh, we're doing basket weaving next to a babbling brook. Do you want heroin still? Oh, you do? Oh, okay. That didn't work. So, I mean, give them health insurance. Don't send them a drug rehab. Give them health insurance. Give them health insurance.
I will say this though, as a normal wrestler or fighter, when you're making that much money, if you look at me, I make $50,000 a year, so I do have health insurance, but I'm making $50,000 a year. A normal UFC fighter is making at least $100,000 a year.
What about the 37% that make less than 45?
Right. Yeah, that's the problem. So
they're doing that by the fight though, so that's on them how many times they want to fight. You see guys like Donner Cerrone, he spends so much money. He was fighting 4 or 5 times a year because he knew he needed to. You train, fight.
He's also an animal too.
Yeah,
that guy wants to fight.
That's on you. That's on you if you want to make more by fighting more. If you
I
only
think
want to
it's easy to say that if you're sitting from the outside going, oh, just work harder. But they're literally going in to break their bodies apart in every single fight. So how many of those you got in you? That's the better question. If you got one real hard fight, you might need some recovery time. Yeah. And that's money, but it could be the case that it's money out of your pocket and money you're not able to get because of how much time you need to recover.
And training camps.
Exactly.
Beating up your body in training camps. You got to pay for these trainers too, these coaches. And so the issue, right? They'll pay for your rehab and stuff like that. And okay, if you're Conor McGregor or John Jones, maybe you should stop fucking up and save some of your money because you're getting taken care of.
Well, they
But
also have big sponsorships. That's the other thing. If you're below,
Right.
15 or the 15 in the league, you're probably not seeing that much sponsorship money. But those guys, they could just live on like his McGregor and his whiskey promotion. They
sure.
could be pretty on that alone.
But if you're a middle of the road fighter, yeah, like those guys need some help and some health insurance. And yeah, that's the problem. I mean, yeah, you can fight more, but injuries happen, like you're saying. Like it's not a regular job. It's not like I own a business delivering bread and my back hurts today from bending over so much. No, these guys are trying to punch you in the face and kick you.
And then when you try to like wrestle, you got Dana White on the side, like, no, get punched more. You get in there and you take those punches, damn it.
Yeah, and like I said, there's good qualities to everybody, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, I would like to see some improvements, like for these fighters in terms of fighter care, just helping them out more. But yeah, I will say this though. If you're John Jones and you're Conor McGregor and you're getting millions and millions of dollars, stop fucking around, guys. Stop fucking around with hookers. Stop doing coke. Stop going in the traffic with a gun and thinking this is a great idea. Don't punch old people at a bar. Like you're actually being taken care of.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to do this.
But what I will say is just to play devil's advocate, like I was.
Sure.
Yeah, as a fighter, all you have to do is train. I'm saying this lightly. All you have to do is train, and then, boom, you fight. You're making $50,000 on the high. Say 30,000 on the say 10, 20,000 on the low. If you fight 2-3 times a year, like most guys do, that's win or lose. That's just your base. If you win, you get more. And if you lose, you still get a little bit more. But you get more, of course, when you win. But that's just the base. So say you fight 2 times, and say you make $10,000. That's $20,000. But if you win twice, that's like an extra $10,000. So you're making $30,000 just fighting twice a year, and all you have to do is train. I know there's a lot that goes into training, but it's not like you have to. Do like a 40-hour work job, and then
some of them do train that hard. Like that's the thing. Especially if you're a middle of the road fighter, you need to be in the gym at least 30-40 hours just to keep up. Like if you're not constantly busting your ass, all the guys who are already better than you and they're training just as hard, they're going to leave you behind. So, I mean, there should be some compensation for all the hours they do spend in the gym, because it's not like the gym they're training at is going to be able to compensate them. That's just a regular business, So they should have a base salary. And then, if you win, great, that's cool. But you shouldn't be dependent on like, oh man, I need to knock this guy out or I can't pay my water bill.
I think another thing is too, like if you're in a regional MMA promotion and you're not making X amount of dollars, okay, you're choosing to be in a regional MMA promotion because you want to make it to the UFC, Bellator, any major promotion. I think by the time you get to Bellator and especially UFC, that's where you should be taken care of, because you're not in a regional, you're not like,
it's not a side hustle
MMA is
anymore.
different. You're taking that big risk, all right? You're fighting for basically a small independent promotion to get experience and hope for the best. But once you make it to the big time already, you shouldn't have to have a job as a waiter on the side at Applebee's. It didn't happen, but it actually has. There's people in the UFC, that had that. So, but it's a bad look.
Yeah, but going from that, because we could talk about that all day. That's like a 2-day conversation right there. But let's move on to the post UFC results right here. The bread and butter of this episode. And the first one we got on here is the women's strawweight division. We had Marina Rodriguez defeated Amanda Ribas by second round TKO. And then I got the right here. Boom. And then let me move this so you can see the full thing. She beat her in the second round. What did you take from this fight? I'll start with you, Dave.
Ribas can hit. I was super impressed with her. Not Ribas, Rodriguez rather. Because I thought Ribas was going in as the favorite. She had a little hype behind her, and also what I really impressed with was that there was a little moment in this fight where Rodriguez had stunned her right before she ended up finishing her, and Herb Dean got near them. And he made contact with her. It didn't look like he did on purpose, but it looked like the fight was stopped. So she got up, walked away, and Herb was like, no, the fight's continuing. And she was like, you could tell taken out for a second, but she immediately focused back up, went back in there, and got the finish. So to me, like, I was super impressed with that. To be able to keep your composure in that moment, the big stage, you think the fight's over, it's not. I got to go back and do this again. She did it. So I thought that was super impressive.
Yeah. What about you, Miles?
I actually kind of walked in just as they were calling this one, so I had to call 3 separate places to see who was doing the fight. I called I go to Buffalo Wild Wings usually, and the place was too small to show a Conor McGregor fight. They're like, we don't have the capacity. So I was like, shit. So I called Twin Peaks, and they said it was a 3-hour wait to be seated. I was like, oh shit. So I finally found a bar that I went to. It was the first time I went out to a bar in a while, but I walked in just as this one was finishing up, so I didn't see too much of it. But man, this card, I got to tell you, I haven't misjudged this many fights like since I started doing this. This is my worst card, hands down. This was a night full of surprises, and this one was probably the first one. I didn't get to see a whole lot because I had Ribas as a submission in the first round. Like I thought that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and judo background was going to come through a lot more than it did. And in the picture, you just see her like holding on to Amanda Rodriguez's leg, like trying to get a takedown while she's getting pummeled in the face. So man, that's, I guess, Rodriguez, that Muay Thai, you got to watch out for it. So good for her.
Yeah, I was watching this fight in the first round. That Ribas was more the aggressor, she doing her normal attacking from the beginning, and she took the round, and then she looked really good. But then one thing that I noticed going into the second round that like I think she's going to have to work a lot on is she wasn't blocking punches. She was kind of leaving herself open for Rodriguez to hit her. And I noticed that she's done that in other fights, but she was able to capitalize on the other fighter even with that happening because the other fighter wasn't getting to her. They weren't hitting her as much as Rodriguez was, and she didn't really have that much of a defense. And Rodriguez exposed that in the second round because she just when she hits you, she hits you, and then she knocks you down. She got a good shot on Ribas, knocked her down, went down, and then that's when you thought it was going to get called. And then Herb Dean was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then Rodriguez thought she had it, but Herb Dean was like, "I didn't call anything." He was like I was just moving out of the way because they went the way they were fighting. It was right in front of him, and he tried to step away, and then Rodriguez thought that he called it, but then she came back in, and then Ribas was already stunned, so she wasn't all there. And then Rodriguez just finished her, just like in the picture. And then, like, what do you guys see Rodriguez going from here?
I'd like to see her fight the Karate Hottie. I was looking at
That'd be cool.
the rankings, and they're like, I don't know if the rankings just changed today, but they were like right next to each other. And I thought, you know what, given the stylistic, that they both like to swing, be a big step up for her. So I don't know. That's a fight I'd like to see.
I agree. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that makes the three of us. But before I go into the next fight, here's our promo video for our social media here at The Buzz.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
We are The Buzz. You can find all of our content on social media, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter under the handle at WTB.com. That is WTB.com. And then getting back into these things, before we get into that, the working fans, I just want to mention this. We're going to get into that at the event. They got a contest going on right now. On Wednesday, they're giving away. Is it an Ultimate Warrior t-shirt?
It's an Ultimate Warrior t-shirt. Yep.
Yeah. And all you have to do is answer the question. Watching this show, it's who do I think is gonna face Khabib next? Which right now, I think it's nobody.
Whichever soccer team.
Yeah. Right.
But if he does come back, like, I'll say if he does come back, I think he will fight Michael Chandler.
Okay.
It should be Poirier, but I think like the likelihood would be Michael Chandler because he's a guy that Khabib hasn't fought yet and beat, and it's like a fresh new face that
New
he
challenge.
can face and challenge. So when you tune in Wednesday to Working Fans, just tell them the answer to the question is Michael Chandler.
Get yourself an Ultimate Warrior t-shirt.
Yep, and I did see
There
the
you go.
shirt. I just had to remember for a second, and it looks pretty rad. So definitely tune in this Wednesday at 6 o'clock to Working Fans and give them the answer, Michael Chandler. Moving on to the next fight we had is actually a fight that got added on because of the Faziola Azatar fight got pulled because, funnily, Azatar got removed from the card because he tried sneaking somebody into his room, I believe it was, or sneaking somebody into his room.
Oh yeah, you hear about this? Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
What
then
happened? What the hell?
I didn't hear all the details, but he tried to sneak something into his room. He got caught, and then he basically got removed from the card, and I think they removed him from Fight Island.
What the fuck was he trying to sneak in? Holy shit! Was
Yeah,
that a
that's the
bomb?
question, but
Jesus.
nobody ever found out.
hell?
Yeah. They asked
Holy
Dana, and he's
shit.
like, Dana's like, I have no idea, because Dana was like, we just got him on film, like he's gone. They asked if they're going to press charges, and Dana's like, no, he's cut from the UFC. We're not going to, cut. But he did say also too that
What
as
did he
far as
do?
like pressing
Holy
charges on him, that also that might be up to Abu Dhabi and
Yeah.
whatever police presence over there, because he was breaking somebody in to this closed off facility too. I wonder what was in the bag.
What the
It was
hell?
like he was sneaking him some snacks, right?
Jesus. He's like, it's just peanut butter, I swear. Shit.
Right.
But
Jesus.
all I know is it was big enough to get him set and packing. So which is good, because you got to be safe. And then sneaking somebody on, you don't know what could happen, especially with the pandemic. But
Sure.
but that
It's
guy,
probably Hooker. It was probably Hooker. Come on, let's be real here.
He put a hooker in a bag.
It's a midget. It's a little person Hooker.
Hooker.
but that fight got canceled. But luckily for Favola, he got to fight somebody else on the prelim. So at least he got the fight still and make money. That's a good thing that Dana White did. He tried to keep him on the card. I forget how that worked, but he did fight. But that got replaced by a middleweight division matchup between Makhmud Muradov, who defeated Andrew Sanchez by third round TKO.
Yep.
And here's the picture for that one.
Yeah.
Right there. And fun fact right here is Makhmud Muradov is the only fighter that is on the Money Mayweather promotion for MMA. He's actually, they made the claim that when he was fighting, like right before he was walking up to the octagon, that on every holiday, Floyd Mayweather calls them up and wishes them like a happy holiday, and then he gives them tips on striking, and then he talks to them as much as possible. So
Working.
yeah,
Cool.
seeing how this guy, I remember hearing about him like years ago, and then I was like, he's not gonna make it that far up because like you got a boxing guy doing an MMA promotion, but this guy actually looks good, and he actually made it to the main card, and then he looked good. He got the TKO, and I wanted to get I'll start with you, Miles. I'll get your opinion on this fight.
Yeah, this one was interesting. So I was probably like 2 drinks in, so I was still good. But when I was watching this guy, Andrew Sanchez got a line on his reach real quick, because it wasn't too long before he was slipping all kinds of shit. Like you saw Muradov, I think is how you say that. He was swinging and he had a lot of power, and he'd think he saw these like big shots and he'd tee up like big haymakers, and Sanchez just slip out the way. So for like that solid first, second round, I was like, oh shit, if this Muradov guy doesn't knock him out, this is going to go to a decision victory for Sanchez. And then he just slipped it in there, just popped him real good. Looked like Bambi being born real quick with his legs like all over the place. Like, holy crap, that was
sick dance moves.
Yeah, no, he got him good. I was like, oh shit, it's over now. But no, I mean he's not a bad striker. It's just Andrew Sanchez is real slick in terms of his defense without necessarily needing to block. He's got good head movement, good overall movement, and he was just moving out the way. He just got caught at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it just goes to show you, like, fighting, UFC, just really anything combat sport related. It's one of those sports where if you take, 10 of the best fighters and you run them through a tournament, you run the tournament 10 times, you could conceivably get 10 different winners. Like it really is one of those activities where all it takes is just one little misstep, one stupid thing, one lucky, swing, and shit, it all just the tables turn immediately. So that was pretty good. It was fun to watch.
Poor mullet.
Yeah, that haircut, man. Sanchez.
Yeah.
It's like he's like taking the kids to a hockey game, and he's like the big hockey coach or something. But I was really impressed with the power and the fact he was able to get Sanchez to do those sick dance moves. I was looking at him. He's like 3-0 in the UFC. He's 26-5 overall. Super impressive resume. I don't know. I'd like to see him. I don't know. We didn't ask this yet, but I'm just hoping he fights like Brad Tavares, who was on this card earlier too. I think that'd be a fun fight. And I don't know. I was impressed with McMahon. I think he's going to have obviously some more fights, but I was impressed with Sanchez too. I hope we see more of that guy. So good fight.
Yeah, I thought like for the first couple rounds, I was like, this is going so and so. I could see like it go either way each round, and then the third round, I don't know what it was they told McMahon, but he just came like jet out of hell, and then he came out blazing, hit him with that one shot, and then he came at him with the knee to the face, and then just out of nowhere, like I didn't even expect that to happen. I'm like, okay, he punch him, he's gonna punch him again, and then all of a sudden he just run up, boom, kneed him, and then he just started attacking him, and then Sanchez was still standing up, and they called the fight. They're like, he's not doing anything. I'm like, I was expecting the fight to keep on going because he at least was standing up, but I guess I can see why that they would call it, because he wasn't really defending himself. He looked like he was taking too much shots. And then at least that they did that. Like we've seen guys get hit worse and they get knocked down and get hit like 5 times while they're not defending themselves, and it looks like a bloody hell getting hit. So I'm glad they did that, but I'm excited to see what this guy does more, and I'm interested to see maybe like if he gets like a main event. I want to see Money Mayweather stand there in the crowd, even if, like with the limited crowd, just going, I'm putting all my money on McMahon. Because you know how he does that. Somehow he does it all the time, and he always wins. Like this guy must have that book from Back to the Future where he's the sports almanac. The way he makes all that money just bet all these certain ways. It's crazy.
All you got to do is bet on the winners, and you'll never lose.
There you go.
You go. And for him to have one fighter under him, and then that fighter's doing good, like he was the second fight. It's just a matter of time. I could see him getting like a co-main event now on like a fight night, and then like work his way up to where if he keeps winning, he must be in the top 10 now. I think I'm gonna have to look at that, or maybe in that bottom of the 10 to 15. Maybe he's at like 11 or 12, but he's definitely close there with the fight that he just had.
I think him and Tavares are near each other. That's why another one I'd like to see, just because Tavares likes to bring it too. Yeah,
the winner gets into the top 10 or something.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah.
Moving on to the third fight that we have is a women's flyweight matchup. Joanne Catterwood defeated Jessica Ai by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, and then 29-28. Let me bring up the picture right now for you. Right there. I love that one. Give you an idea of how that fight was going. She came in actually like motivated. She said that she called Jessica Ai like a bully. All she did was talk. Said she was gonna kick her ass and whatnot. She came in motivated, and then she got the victory. What did you take from this, Dave?
She got the sweetest little voice too. Listen to her when she talks. Like it's just funny to me. But solid performance. This funny thing about this division though is that Valentina Shevchenko is the champion. So it's like I feel it's her, and then it's like all these other girls where anybody can win any given time. But then unfortunately you have to fight Shevchenko. I don't know. I thought it was a solid performance. I don't really have a lot to say about it other than that. I'd like to see her maybe fight Symphony Cavillo next. Unless they're going to give her a shot at the title, which seems like they just kind of randomly you can get a shot at the title in this division because
they spin the wheel.
She's beating everybody. So who's in that division now? Jessica Andrade, who just was the strawweight champion, had lost a couple close ones, and she knocked out former title contender Caitlin, I think it was.
Caitlin, what was it? Chukagan.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I like to see her. I know we're not talking about her, but I like to see Andrade get the title shot. I think it'd be something different. But you can easily just throw Joanne in there. But no, sorry,
no one's fodder.
Yeah, no one's. I don't think anyone's taken that title off of Valentina. So the bullet, she's unstoppable. But hey, she got to enjoy this night. Great performance. But see what happens next.
What about you, Miles?
Well, this one I did call. What's interesting though is I didn't think she would use that strategy. So this one I had called it a decision. It was mostly based on the stats from what I'm reading on my notes. She also had the potential for knockout, which we did see overall probably a better striking game from Calderwood. But what was interesting to me is how much she wanted to go into the clinch. She did a ton of clinch work on this one. Because I also had down Jessica I. If there was going to be a submission, I'd expect to see it more out of her. And that's the thing about the clinch; it's a little tricky. You get stuck up in the clinch. It's not too much of a move to get into wrestling and all that, which that could have been a trouble spot. But she had excellent control. She kept center of the octagon. She'd throw some shots in there, go into the clinch control, throw some big knees, do those uppercuts, and then kind of pop back out a little bit. So she just had better control of the situation than Jessica I did for the whole fight. And that's exactly how I thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I watched this, I noticed how like I said before, she was motivated. I think she came in like super motivated, extra aggressive. Like you saw, she mixed up a lot of the kicks with her punches, a couple combinations here and there. She did quite a few more leg kicks than I usually see from her. And then just like in the picture, she caught her one time in the face and then got her. But like you said, she definitely clinched, and then it worked out for her. And then they interviewed her afterwards, and she was like, I was just extra motivated to win this. This was basically a title eliminator. Like the winner would move on, hopefully to get a shot or earn like a number one contender fight shot, and the loser would basically get eliminated and have to start from scratch again. And she came out like she seemed like a different fighter. And I want to, if I see this from her every fight, I feel good about her. I don't think it's going to matter when you have to fight Shevchenko. It's kind of like I'm expecting Shevchenko to retire soon because what can she do? The only thing that she has done is beat Nunez. She lost to Nunez twice.
Right.
That's been her one Achilles heel on her career right now, is losing to her. You got all these fighters moving around divisions. It's been so bad that Joanna Jędrzejczyk moved down to Zhang Wei's division to fight her because she lost her title before Shevchenko got that one. And you got all this mixing and matching. I'm excited to see what happens. But now that Cattlwood won, I see her get like it depends on when they want to book Shevchenko, because there's been rumors it's going to be her and Andrade, but then she might not be ready. If she's not ready, I would expect like a Cattlwood Andrade matchup.
Sure.
But if she's not, but if she is ready, it's going to be Andrade, Shevchenko, and then you give Cattlwood somebody like you said, Calvillo, who's floating around the top 5 right now. Just to give her something to work with. And we got a comment right here. Neither woman has any head movement either.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't help matters.
That's why she could slip into the clinch all the time. She wasn't moving.
Right.
But now we're going to move into the co-main event. This one was an exciting one for me. We had lightweight division. We had Iron Mike Chandler defeated Dan Hangman Hooker by first round TKO. Where's the picture right here? Boom. What did you? I'll start with you, Dave. How did you like this one?
I liked it a lot. Really happy for Chandler. For years being in Bellator, and we all knew like he was like that top guy that was ready to compete at the UFC. But in my mind's like, did he wait too long? This is a tough fight right out the gate. Not that like I figured Chandler would do well, but like this is a tough fight out the gate, and boy, you couldn't ask for a better performance, huh? Knocking out Hooker early.
Yeah.
Then he does the the crazy backflip, which Dana hated because he's probably like, no, don't blow out a knee. The money, we're gonna make a lot of money off of you. But
yeah, I just paid you.
Yeah. But he cuts that wrestling style promo, where talks about like the greatest moment in my life, which is like a homage to Ric Flair at the '92 Royal Rumble. A little tear in his eye. It's good. It's good stuff. You're doing it on a Conor McGregor card too, where everybody's watching you.
Yep.
It's a hell of an impression. So to me, this guy, like if he's not getting to get a title shot next, like he's fighting Charles Oliveira in a number 1 contender thing, or he's waiting, or he's like right there. Like he's going to be a guy that he's either getting a title shot or he's going to do one more fight. Whatever it is, though, like all eyes on him right now.
Yep.
He put himself in a really good position. Good for him.
And what about you, Miles?
Yeah. So this one, last time we were on, this was the one where we spent like an hour going back and forth on this. I mean, I had it called different. I did, which is interesting because I saw like a bit of a different performance out of Chandler than from what I was seeing in my research, which is why initially I leaned towards Hooker. But let's see, I was about 4 drinks in by the time I saw this fight. So this one is a little bit hazier, but I do remember the knockout because everyone was watching. I was sitting next to this guy at the bar. We were talking about it, and we were like, Chandler, he's having to overreach just to get to Hooker's head because that extra 4 inches that Hooker's got on him. But he's just he did a great job. That's what it was. He wanted to stand and trade with Hooker, and at first I thought he probably didn't have the hit resistance to do that, the impact resistance. But I mean, I'm a little disappointed in Hooker. Like after that Poirier fight, like what the hell was that, bro? I thought you were like a moose. But yeah, he got in that solid shot, and he really most of the fight he just wouldn't let Hooker breathe. Like that's what it kind of was. He just stayed on top of him a lot.
Pressure.
And yeah, even with that reach, he had a hard time keeping him away. He had a hard time, maintaining control of the situation, where Chandler would just like kind of pop in real quick. And then if he got repelled by a few punches, he just went right back in afterward. He didn't even really care. I definitely thought he was going to try to do more grappling stuff, especially with Hooker, like a bigger guy, but less experienced on the ground. And he's got a wonderful wrestling background and all that, but hey, he standed and traded and it worked out for him. So good job.
Yeah.
From what I saw from this fight, that impressed me was the way Chandler controlled the octagon. He worked from the center, and then he was chasing after Hooker. Hooker was the one backing up, moving away from Michael Chandler, whereas when he was fighting Dustin Poirier, it was they were just in the middle. They were just bam, 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 bam. Like they're just going at it, seeing who could fall first. And then it went back and forth. But this one, it was more so Chandler was the one aggressing towards Hooker, and Hooker was backing up. You would see Chandler just sizing up, waiting for the moment, just feeling him out. Like he was punching him in the stomach a little bit, and then it just every now and then he just stick his hand out and just do like a little jab right into the stomach to get a Hooker going, and then Hooker wasn't really doing too much, and then out of nowhere you saw Chandler go for the takedown like he should do that, but then in a moment right before the knockout, what set Hooker wide open for a shot was Chandler went down to go for the stomach. You saw Hooker go down to block it, but then you saw Chandler come over with the wide shot, and he had a wide open face to connect on. It was all those sudden just jabs to the stomach that he was doing during the round that was causing Hooker to then worry about that left his face open, and then he just got a big hook down. He got hit down, and then Chandler just finished him on the ground. He just took advantage of the situation where he controlled it. He made Hooker in his mind think, I need to block my stomach because that's what I'm getting hit at. And then Chandler came in with the combo overwards when he had the open shot. And then now that he has this, just like you said, he's in the top 3 now. That's what I think. Like, you beat Dan Hooker, this is what happens. You can say Olivier deserves to be in the top 3 because he beat Ferguson, but it's like you could go either way because Ferguson and Hooker both are on 2 fight losing streaks now after the losses, and then the 2 guys are rising like Chandler and then Olivier. But it's like, when you think of it, if Khabib retires, then you have to have somebody fight. And then obviously we'll get into Poirier in a second, and then I'll go into this more. But McGregor's not going to be in the picture. Gage just lost. You don't know where he's going to do. Is he going to get a title shot right away after losing to Khabib? Whereas Poirier, he did lose to Khabib too, but then he's on a 2-fight win streak against where he beat both Hooker and the guy, and then the fight we're about to talk about in a second. So it's like you got to do like a process of elimination, and it comes down to Dana White choosing between Olivier and Chandler, and then it's like who had a better signature win there. And Olivier did dominate Ferguson, but it took longer, and it wasn't. It was only 3. It was 3 rounds, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was 3 rounds. And whereas this lasted like 2 minutes. That's all it lasted, 2 minutes, and he knocked him out in fashion. A guy that doesn't get knocked out like that, and then he was able to do it. Like, you saw Poirier try his hardest to knock him out, and he couldn't do it. And it took 1 punch basically in the face by Chandler to get it done when he's not known for that. He's known for his wrestling. As we talked about it for 30 minutes between me and Sam. That's probably why Sam's not here right now. He's probably
He's crying right now.
He's probably on witness protection right now after that fight.
Chandler's got that power, though. He's a great wrestler, but he's always had that like power where he can end it. And I think that's something that is going to make him dangerous. But Charles Oliveira, I mean, he's got the most submissions in the UFC.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of Poirier a little bit. If you look at his record, like, he's got some losses early in his career, but then he'd like come back and he'd come back and he'd keep improving and keep improving. And he's in the right weight class too. He was another one at featherweight that I think was a little sucking too much weight. And so I don't know. For me, like, if you're talking about who's earned it, Charles Oliveira has put the time in, the work in this promotion.
Oh yeah.
But you're talking about, you know, the money fight after, you know, on the McGregor card, who looked the best, what Dana White wants. I know he wants Chandler and Poirier out of the options. But Poirier actually said, not to jump ahead, but a little bit afterwards, that he'd like to see Oliveira. He thinks he earned it a little more. And it was no disrespect to Michael Chandler. He just said, he thinks you need to do a little more than win one fight over a guy he had just beaten, even if he did beat him quicker, than just jump right into a title shot. But,
We got Nathan chiming in. To be fair to Hooker, I wonder how much all the wars, especially Poirier, has taken away from the durability. Yeah, but he like, I think it was the mind thing in this, like, where he was taking the shots to the body, and then he was like, let me protect the body, and then left the top wide open. I don't think he expected that to happen like it did over top. But it did remind me of the, like I said before, the Benson Henderson fight right before he left the Bellator. That's basically what happened in that one. Benson went to protect the body, and he got hit from top, and he got knocked out. Michael Chandler doesn't get the the due diligence that he deserves with how he game plans. And
Mhm.
he didn't have to use his wrestling that much in this. He just kind of used it like the mind game of I might go take you down now, but then he backs up. I might go, let me punch you in the stomach. And then he used that in this to keep Hooker from hitting him, because Hooker had to think about if he's going to get taken down or not. And then he never got it going. He never got a chance to get going because Chandler kept on cutting him off on certain situations with the fakes and then the punch into the stomach. So props to Chandler big time for taking him out of the game plan. But let's move on to the main event, the fight that right here that brought us this card, which was the lightweight division matchup. Dustin Diamond Poirier defeated the notorious Conor McGregor by second round TKO. Here's the picture I got for that one. Right there. Nice shot. I'll start with you, Dave. What did you take from this one?
I thought you were gonna have the picture of him laying down, like I said.
Yeah, the memes, man. The
Brutal. Dude, when you're Conor McGregor or you're like a Ronda Rousey and you lose a fight, you don't just lose a fight. You got to stay off the internet for a few days. But, oh, man. I was telling someone I thought before this, the keys to victories for Poirier was he was going to have to clinch, put him on the cage. I forgot about the leg kicks. That was a great idea. I don't know why I forgot about that. I never said takedowns because I didn't think Poirier would go for a takedown. But that first round, even though I thought Conor actually won the first round, Poirier was mixing it up. He was setting his keys to victory. He was doing the leg kicks. He was clinching. God, I don't want to say like I thought he was in danger, but there were a couple good shots Conor got where you can see Poirier ate it on the chin. But this guy's been to wars, and he still has a strong chin. So getting to what we said in the comments earlier, talking about Hooker with his durability with the wars. What do you say about a guy like Poirier? He just had that war with Hooker. He's had other wars, and here he is, just looking amazing. It's just I wrote down in like my little notes here, gritty. Like Dustin Poirier is just a gritty guy. Like you look at his record, he's won more than he's lost, but the few key fights that he's lost, he's always bounced back and got better. And even fights that were maybe close that he won over guys who thought, oh, okay, well, he probably wouldn't beat this guy. No, he keeps getting better. I love it. I love it. And like I said, he came back in the second round. He finished Conor. I never seen Conor ever get finished like that. I think he's tapped out in all his previous fights that he lost. So to see him get knocked out like that in an MMA fight, super impressive. I think Poirier, he either fights for the title now or he does the third match with Conor because Conor wants it and they'll offer him a shitload of money. So you either take that huge amount of money they're going to offer you or you take the title fight because you're worried about that. But that's what he deserves. He either deserves a ton of money or he deserves the title fight because he's put himself in that position with this. So good on him.
Sure. Yeah.
What about you, Miles?
So this one I miscalled it, but it was a light miscall because I said I was looking at like a KO definitely, and that's how it went. But I thought just because McGregor, like I said, Poirier's evolved a lot as a fighter, and he's picked up a lot of things that McGregor does in his prime. So he's like his own certain flavor of McGregor. They have very similar approaches. They just express it a little different. And a lot of that has been due to Poirier's experience in the ring. Like you said, he's been fighting and learning and getting better as he goes along. And the thing was, McGregor just didn't prepare. Like that's what it feels like. He just he wasn't focused. So I mean, if he had been focused, we might have seen a very, very different fight out there. But I think he took time off. And I think Khabib said it best in his tweet. He was talking about how McGregor was like changing up his sparring partners and his training was doing all different. He's like, no, you don't stop sparring with the sparring partners who made you a champ and then go spar with like random dudes. Like, of course, that's a terrible idea. So I think he was just really underprepared for this. This fight, I was like already 5 to 7 in. So I remember a little less, but I do remember specifically putting in the MMA chat. So like maybe we see McGregor v the Rancor next, like something like that, because I feel like Dana White was expecting a McGregor win, and he's pretty upset that he didn't win. because I think he was expecting, I think, a better fight than what he got. I think he was probably anticipating a 3-4 round fight on this, and then of course McGregor gets the knockout, but probably something more akin to like what we saw with Poirier and Hooker, where they're just trading the whole time. It's very exciting. And then after that, he was just going to ride the McGregor gravy train for the rest of 2021. And then this happened, and then the memes happened. So it's kind of hard to come back. Yeah. Then that happens. And now I think Dana White is like, he doesn't really know where am I going to put McGregor now? Like who am I going to stick this guy with that's going to make a bunch of money? And I remember he even said something along the lines of like, I need to see hunger or I'm done. So he's ready to yeet McGregor's ass into the Rancor pit anyway. I think he's kind of really pissed off. So, I mean, we'll see if we get a Poirier McGregor part 3, but I do want to see Oliveira and Poirier, mostly because like you see right now, Poirier is talking about how great of a boxer he is, but Oliveira would be the fight to show that he's also a good grappler. Like it would be the well-rounded choice, because that's his calling card is, I didn't mention this the last time we talked about him as a fighter, but Oliveira is I think he's either tied for the most career wins with submissions. Don Cerrone. I think he's also tied for career wins.
That's right.
I think it's not a very well-known fact, but I think he's tied for overall career wins. And if he keeps going after Cerrone retires, then he could just take that title from him. So, I mean, it's not like he hasn't been doing a ton of work. He's just not as flashy of a guy. So it's easy to for him to fall off the radar.
Doesn't speak English either.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But I think it'd be interesting to see how Poirier matches up against someone who on paper is definitely a better grappler. He's like a 3rd degree Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He's probably got the best ground fighting game in the whole UFC in terms of like formal training. And I mean, it comes through a lot. Like I remember we were talking about Ferguson and Oliveira fight. You guys were like, oh, I don't know. I think Ferguson's going to be okay. That's not how it worked out at all. So I'd want to see that matchup against, Poirier's NCAA wrestling background and just kind of see how he does with it. But that'd be kind of cool. I'd be interested in that.
A little side note, what I found out about Poirier was he doesn't use leg kicks that much. What he actually did was, like when I saw him use the leg kicks, I'm like, wow, I don't see him using that much. He got that from Mike Brown. Mike Brown gave him that little tidbit. He was like, he told Poirier, McGregor is more of the boxing type. He's not going to block the leg kicks. So go at him with that. You can slow him down, which basically that's what happened. And McGregor was hitting him hard in the first round, and then Poirier came and mentioned that he thought he was almost knocked out. He was almost done. He got wobbly, but he made it through the first round. But those leg kicks had a long effect on him. On McGregor,
chopped him down,
just chopping him down, losing the mobility that he had. Like I was talking to people at work today, and they're like, "Damn, McGregor got knocked out. Like he just got hit." I had to tell him, I was like, "He got hit, but." You fail to realize was when he got hit that one time, he was falling back already because the leg was dead. His leg was dead. He actually kind of was walking back from getting hit, and he fell back. And then that's when he got caught with that one hit. Was when he started to fall back. And I'm like, it's like he took damage from that, but that wasn't like the hit there wasn't as bad as the one on the ground. It was more so like his leg was so dead he couldn't support himself, and he just fell down, got hit a little bit, but he couldn't get himself back up because of the leg. And then that's where Poirier just basically finished him. Like he couldn't support getting up, so he was basically like a sitting duck. And Poirier had all the ammo in the world at that time to just finish him. So it was either he was gonna finish him or he was gonna take the beat in, try and block it, which he didn't, and then hope that he got out of the round. And then I don't think he would have lasted that much longer because he wouldn't have been able to do all the moving around. He would have kind of walked, kind of like what Ferguson did against Gaethje. Like he had no defense whatsoever because he couldn't move around.
Mhm.
So yeah, Poirier was able to shock him with the leg kicking game, which was a nice repertoire for this fight. Like I don't think you'll see him do it as much as he would in other fights, because this was like a game breaker for him. This just for this fight, and he used it. I from now on, I see Poirier. I see Poirier. He's definitely going to get a shot at the title, whether it's Khabib, which is unlikely, or an interim shot. Like the guy you think deserves it is Olivier, but like you said, the money guy is
Yeah.
Chandler. What I would like I want to see Chandler just because I think it would be more exciting. But what I think would be the better idea in the long run is to have Poirier against Olivier, and then have like a kind of like a number one contenders one for that, and have and for that one you have Gagey and Chandler.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that way, because Chandler's up there. He the only guy he lost to right there was Khabib, which and he's kind of like in limbo right now. Like I said, because Chandler won, Olivier won, Poirier won, McGregor lost. I honestly think you're going to see McGregor Diaz 3.
That would be good. Yeah, have a third
It's the
money
time
fight.
for it.
Yeah,
It's the time for it.
yeah. You're gonna see that. Of course, Khabib retired. I think Tony Ferguson's gonna move up the welterweight. There's been rumors of that, so I think he moves up. So it's like in that top 5, top 10 range, you're like losing guys for to have matchups with. So it's like it's either Poirier's going to either fight Olivier or Chandler, and then you put Gagey against the other guy. Either way, you're going to get 2 great matchups. Either way, so like no matter what, so it's kind of like a really good situation for Dana White, because that division's so stacked.
Oh my god,
yeah,
it's the best.
Yeah, definitely. Like heavyweight has like a good top 5, but when you start going down, it's like, but this is like this could go like 10 deep with how good fighters they have. Even welterweight's moving up there. Then
Featherweight, yeah, those lower weight.
Yeah, you got the new Khabib and welterweight with Chimaev, who's ranked number 13, and he's getting a fight against number 4 ranked Leon Edwards, who hasn't fought in like 2 years because of the pandemic.
Trying to move him up fast.
Yeah, because he can only. I don't know how they're going to do that because he's over in the UK. So traveling wise, like for the longest time, they said the only way he could fight was Fight Island. He was actually supposed to be the main event on Wednesday, and then this is the second or third time that fight got pulled because Chimaev wasn't ready. The first time
Chiesa looked too. Michael Chiesa on that Wednesday card. I don't know if anyone saw that. I thought solid, dominant performance.
And then he called out Colby Covington.
Different animal though. I'm talking about like Michael Chiesa struggled a little bit, even though he was dominant. Like with his cardio, I thought at times looked a little tired in the 5th round. He basically on a cardio machine in Kobe.
Yep.
With the volume. But hey, that was his first 5-round. First time he had gone 5 rounds anyway too.
We got Randy chime in. I'm looking forward to some Bellator shows, and like Bellator's done a lot better job than they used to with their product. I like how they're they were for a while. They were sticking to the Mohegan Sun, and now they are moving around, but they're keeping it low key with like no fans or whatnot. I tune in here and there to certain fighters. I like to. The last one I saw was when Jake Hager fought, and then he comes out in his AEW stuff, which is funny. But like their product has gotten so much better, and it's good. It's good for the TV because just like WWE, you see UFC all the time. You want to see not competition, but a nice alternative here and there.
They're good for like a few shows a year. You know, book some good fights. Now, the issue with Bellator, I've been to a few cards before the pandemic, and you'll have some good main card fights, but the depth is the thing. So if you're used to like a depth card, like with UFC, or maybe even on the early prelims, you might have a guy like with 20, 30 something fights. If you go to like early Bellator cards, you could be seeing guys 0-1, one, you know what I mean? They're making their debut. So you'll see some different, but but they also, what they used to do too, again, before the pandemic, they would get a lot of local fighters from the area, try to drum up interest. So they're very smart business-wise how they set themselves up. But yeah, they're good, especially with their welterweights, their lightweights, their featherweights, their smaller divisions.
Another one to look into, it'll be coming back in April, is they've been building themselves up, is PFL, Pro Fighting League. I'm looking forward to that. They've added some good names, guys. Of course, they had Michael McDonald. They just added Anthony Showtime Pettis, a guy that I interviewed 4 months ago from Bellator. They added Jordan Young. He's only lost one fight. He was actually undefeated going into his last Bellator fight, and then he lost because he came into the fight injured, and then he should have been not fought, he said, but he fought anyway because he had that last fight in his contract, and they kind of lowballed him, so he went and his agent got him a very good deal with PFL. PFL blew him away with the offer that he had, so they offered him. And I like the different format that they do. It's like kind of like a division, like format where they do, like, I think 4 or 5 fights in like a 2, 3, 4 month span. And it's like an eliminator type thing. Like you win the 3 fights, and then whoever is slide here and here move on. And you wind up doing like 5 fights in like, I think 4 months, but then you're done. Like it's like you're done after that 4 month span, and it's like a season type thing. That like season 2021, and then you wait until next April, and it's season 2022. So it's like a cool, like a different type of format to differentiate themselves from UFC, Bellator, and whatnot. Like that way, they do their own spin of things. So everybody keep an eye out for a PFL, and then I think they're partnered with ESPN actually.
Yep.
Yeah, ESPN, which I'm looking forward to. So keep an eye out for that. But anything you guys want to mention before we get going?
I'm pretty good. I think we covered everything.
Yeah. Everybody, keep a lookout on our social medias, and then to our SoundCloud for Miles Long's The Last and Rec podcast. We're going to be getting his stuff on shortly on YouTube, so you have.
I'm working on that.
We're working on that. We got easier access to that, and then I know you've been talking about going to. Was it Tuesdays and Thursdays in the future? If you want to say anything about that.
No, absolutely. Actually, it's starting up this week. I'm going to be doing basically the Laughs Rec podcast is going to be a hybrid podcast. So there was basically a workload issue. That's what it was. Like I used to produce full length episodes, which for me average about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which in recording and editing time, that's about 6 hour commitment, give or take. So it's a lot of work. So what I started doing is, okay, well, let me do every other week. And that seemed like a pretty decent balance. And then what I started doing is mini episodes in between the weeks. So I've been doing that for the last couple of weeks, because the mini episodes, I can produce those in 3 hours and just pop them up same day. So what I decided to do is, since really the biggest workload is the full-time episodes, and the little episodes on the bi-weekly basis are super easy, I'm going to start doing live streams as well, because I have a lot of ideas that I want to use, but they don't necessarily translate into audio only. They have like a visual video component to them. So that'll give me an opportunity to do that. So we're moving over to Twitch as well. I've got already pretty much the next 3 shows stacked up with guests coming on. Some of them are guests who I've had on the show before. They're friends of the show. This week on Thursday, the 28th at 5 p.m. Central is going to be our second ever stream, but it's going to be the first regularly scheduled stream. We're going to be talking about pickup artistry and how that industry is pretty bad, but it's also kind of funny to make fun of. So I'm bringing on my friend Samantha from the Random Acts of Self podcast. She is finishing her master's degree in psychology, so she's going to help me kind of poke all the holes in the things. They're like, oh, all you need are these 5 psychological tricks to sleep with all the women you want, and mostly just a bunch of bullshit. So that's going to be awesome. And then going forward, we're going to be doing a alternating Tuesday, Thursday weekly live stream. The Tuesday following that, which I think is the 2nd of February, same time. I'm going to be bringing on my buddy Jim from the Friday Night Music Party. We're going to be doing a variety stream where we got all kinds of stuff on the wheel. We spin the wheel, whatever it lands on, that's what we talk about. It's going to be all kinds of stuff like right-wing extremists. We got Karen videos. We got, just all kinds of stuff. Nerdiverse stuff, talking about MCU and DC Universe stuff, really whatever we want. So that's going to be kind of the structure is Tuesday's variety show, Thursdays on a deep dive. And so tune in every week with the Laughs and Rec podcast. We're going to have audio content and streaming content. If it's a full episode, that'll be a light, variety stream. If it's a week where it's a shorter audio episode, then you're going to get a deep dive episode on Thursdays. So yeah, there's going to be a lot going on past after this week. It's going to be stacked. So
Awesome.
And this Monday.
And then with Dave, of course, you got him on the Working Fans podcast on Wednesdays. What's this week's episode going to be about?
So this week we're talking top 5 greatest heel turns in pro wrestling.
Awesome.
So we got that. We have our episode. We have our audio podcast. It drops Thursday.
Yeah, it usually drops Thursday. Yeah.
Yep. And that's on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And me and producer Joe just in the future weeks, we got a commentary gig coming up for a local pro wrestling thing down in Florida. We'll be doing it in-house here in Connecticut. We'll be they're going to send us videos. We'll commentate over them. And so excited about that. That's in the future.
Kevin Kelly right there.
Yeah, that's got to get our foot in the door somewhere. Yeah. It won't be New Japan, but we're trying. Yeah. So.
Yeah, which is great. A lot of good coming out of you guys. You guys produce a lot of good stuff. I always tune in Wednesdays to your product.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. You can find both of the Working Fans podcast and the Laughing Rex podcast on the Buzz on YouTube, SoundCloud. Anything that we have our stuff on, just go to there, check out all the past stuff. Just last week, you guys did a cool one on tag teams.
Yep,
I know that. And then, of course, check out Miles on his new venture on. I said Tuesdays and Thursdays, right?
Yeah, just Thursdays on Twitch.
On Twitch, check that out. He's gonna be producing some good stuff on that. And then, for me and Drew have been doing our. We just started it out as like a one-off thing that we thought we were going to do. We interviewed Wes Bergman from the Challenge, and it's turned into the weekly thing where we've been just boom. We've been just chugging along, interviewing other people from the Challenge. We did Wes, we did Devin, we did Ashley, we just did Marlon, which was great. And then now in the next 2 days we have 2. Tomorrow 8 we got Marie Rhoda, and then on Wednesday, which I'm excited for, I'm confirming that we will be interviewing Leo Rush, who is a wrestler who is just on the Challenge, and so I've just been doing my research on that and getting ready for that. I'm excited for that. That'll be Wednesday at 8, right after the Working Fans podcast. So stay tuned for that on the Buzz, and then just next week. We're starting our new format here on Cage by IQ. We're going to be producing more episodes for you guys because MMA is definitely the way. We need to get more content out for that. So the way we're going to do it is on the smaller themed shows. We're going to be doing news episodes starting next week where we just put out an episode on just the latest news, and then for like the bigger pay-per-views or like bigger fight nights, that week we're going to just cover just the predictions and then do like a results episode. That way, unlike last week, we won't cover 2.5 hours. It'll be more like an hour and a half. So
This man needs help out here.
just barely.
That's how he felt after we did 2.5 hours last week. That's how he felt. So,
Oh man, you should see me after the New Year's live stream. 6 hours on live. 6 hours, yeah.
Well, you guys see me tomorrow morning. I'll send you a picture.
I gotta go in at 4 a.m. So I'll be up at 3 a.m. So.
I didn't even tell you. Like I delivered, like Brett. I was saying, I'm leaving my house at 2:30 in the morning tomorrow. So I was at the clock. I'm like, whoa, it's gonna be a long day. Just started out a lot of fun, but I'm like, uh-oh.
But before we get going, here's the schedule for the week at the Buzz. We have all these great podcasts on here. It's ever building, but this is the schedule for the week. And then once we're done showing that, we'll be out. So I'm D-Bake. This is the man they call Dave, and then that is Miles. And we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day. It's all hard work, but it's why what happens when we play 9 out of 10 times. I'm a